He's going all the way. 20, 15, 10. Touchdown. Texas Tech takes home the victory.
Welcome into another episode of the Broadway Shuffle with Clayton, Conrad, and Zyler. I am Brennan, and today we are joined by a very special guest. Texas Tech head coach Grant McCasland is joining the Broadway Shuffle for the first time. Coach McCasland, thank you for being here. How are you doing today?
Great. I'm the only thing that's bad is it took me this long to finally get on the Broadway Shuffle, man. I mean, y'all do great work. It's an honor to be with you.
Man, well, we appreciate your time. We're looking forward to it. Basketball is officially here. It's right around the corner. We've been waiting for you guys now all summer and fall. A lot of talk on football, but the basketball team comes in with very high expectations. And I wanted to start with last year, you kind of came in. Christian Anderson's a true freshman. JT Toppin transfers in. Not as huge national following going into last year, but this year it's much different. Eyes are on Texas Tech basketball, preseason accolades for JT and Christian. Is there a difference coming from a coaching perspective on coaching guys that are expected to kind of play well? I know you have high expectations, but from a national landscape, do you take a different approach with a team that is expected to compete for a Final Four on a national level compared to kind of coming in a little more unknown?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. I can tell you that I would prefer to not be nationally ranked. I mean, I know everybody loves it. It is the best, I guess, preseason ranking Texas Tech basketball's ever had. You know, it's just, but it's nonsense. I mean, I did it from the very beginning. I put up last year's Big 12 preseason conference rankings, showed it where JT wasn't even listed on anything. We had a 7th or 8th or what, you know, just the guys that were player of the year, you know, there's some guys that everybody thought was going to be really good that didn't even make any all conference. Just, I think you got to set the table to say you win because you go out there and put your heart into it and you compete for each other. And the team that does that the best is the team that's going to deserve those. And so none of the preseason stuff impacts how you play during the year. It just doesn't. And if you allow it to, then you've limited your ability to be the best you can be. So I only know from experience. I was a junior college coach at 26. Such a blessing to live in Midland, Texas, and have the opportunity. I got to mess up a lot. Our third year, we were preseason number 1 team in the country. And we started out the season, I believe, like 2-4, something crazy. I mean, we had a really bad start, but that team ended up winning the national championship.
Wow.
So really, I just think what you try to prepare your team for is to be as uncomfortable and as comfortable being in adverse situations as possible. And you just always communicate how they can make each other better. Give you a couple examples in practice. One thing we try to do specifically, if you shoot a basketball in the corner and you make it, it's natural as a good teammate to do what? If you shoot it and you make it and someone passed it to you, what would you do if you're a good teammate? This is a question and answer. Anybody?
I'd point at the guy and say, great pass, man.
And now we're talking. You can play for me, brother.
Come on, man. Hey, I'm ready.
That's the heart behind it, right? But what about when you miss a shot and it's a great pass and you're wide open? Then you put your head down. Do you still point to your teammate and say, good pass? I mean, like, honestly, those little things are the focus of who we are every day. It's not about what people say about you. It's about how you include other people, because everybody wants to be like, I mean, Martin Luther King's best sermon to me is the drum major instinct. And he talks about it like everybody wants to be out front. It's not that complicated. All of you guys, as much as I love the Broadway Shuffle, if someone says that you were the best podcast in the world, you'd be like, oh yeah. You know, like there's this clear heart behind this that you want people to say your name. And in the preseason, it feels good, but it does not impact whether you win or lose. And if you allow it to, then you've put yourself in a bad position. So my heart is that we just literally try to live every day how much we appreciate and build up those people around us so that we don't make it about us and what we've been told what we are until we get to go out there and do it together. And so just be great when it gets difficult is kind of the hope of our everyday approach.
Coach, that's an excellent answer. I'm fired up. I can't even focus on asking questions, so I'm gonna compose myself a little bit. But I do want to talk a little bit about your time in Midland. But before we get there, you mentioned that team started 2-4, and last year, kind of the first big test for the Texas Tech Red Raiders was those games in New York or Brooklyn, and you lost to St. Joe's, and then you rallied and beat Syracuse. The team goes on, and from that point, I didn't think, this is going to be a Big 12 title contender. This is going to be a 3 seed. What was kind of the turning point for you guys? Because you go on and set the record for most weeks in the AP top 10 for a Texas Tech basketball team. What was kind of the turning point for you guys during the season?
That game, honestly, there were 2 games, and you know this, and both of them burned me to my core, like our core. Let's be honest, our core, okay? The Brooklyn game, because of the way we lost to Texas at home for the last time we played them in Big 12 play, and I did such a horrible job in that game in preparing us. We had students camped out. It was 2 nights full of tents everywhere, and there was such an atmosphere in there, and we just didn't play great, and I didn't do a great job in preparing us for that game. And so we had this circled on our calendar that if we beat St. Joe's and Texas, we didn't know who the matchups would be. But we got into it with hopes that we'd have another opportunity to play Texas, let's be honest. And then, 2 things. One, I knew this team was going to be great after we lost to St. Joe's. Why? Because JT Toppin in our first practice that we were together in the summer before we even started real practice, he jumped over the top of a couple of our guys and snatched a rebound and turned and dunked it real fast. And I kind of looked at another one of the older guys on our roster, and they looked at me. I was like, yeah, that was, it's not hard to see it when it looks different. It's different to see it up close when it looks different. And so we knew he had the talent, but after that game, I think he had 20-plus points and set the record for the most rebounds he's ever had in a game, maybe an 18 against St. Joe's in Brooklyn, and we lost the game. And you go to the locker room, you don't know what you're going to get because we had not lost a game yet. We'd actually played pretty well up to that point. But JT was the most disappointed player on our roster, and it was obvious. It wasn't fake. If you know JT, you know he is who he is all the time. He has a real vulnerability and genuineness to who he is, and he was the most upset in the locker room. And I walked out of there really disappointed because I knew we would have a chance to play Texas if they won. But we lost, and we put ourselves in a bad spot. But I walked out of there, and I told our staff, our team's going to be really good. Because if you can have one of the best games of your career and you're the most disappointed I've seen a player in the locker room because we lost, that means you care more about winning than you do playing good. And that means we're set up for success. I was really excited. And then fast forward to the A&M game, which is wild because JT didn't play in that game. And Elijah Hawkins kind of got back in the rotation, and we got beat at the end of the game. We just didn't play great. We had some horrible scouting reports and errors at the beginning of that game. And E wasn't a great defender at the end of that game. And they got off and made some baskets in the middle of the floor because of our lack of communication. And we got back from that practice and everybody owned it. Everybody in our program. And Elijah Hawkins was like, I'll be a better defender for our team if so that we can win. And I just saw our team grow after those 2 difficult losses. And I don't know about y'all, but man, if I'm going to always be thought of just how I've been bad, then like you stay bad. Like your team has a tendency of you're just like, oh, I've lost the game and we didn't get to play Texas and we lost A&M. As disappointing as that is as a Red Raider, it's the worst losses you can have. But like if you let that define who you are, then it's a crash course. And we could have, but our team responded so well, and everybody decided we were going to get better. And the end of the season determines what everybody remembers, not what you did along the way. So I just think our mentality was right after those 2 games that we lost, and our preparation ability to get better was the mark of our team. And it was obvious even in the game against Arkansas. I mean, you're not defined even by the first 39 minutes and 30 seconds.
Right.
and then you get to overtime, and then it's more. It's really is like the heart of learning every possession, and that is the heart of this program, and that's the heart of those guys in those tough losses.
Hey, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the Broadway Shuffle. We're talking Texas Tech sports, bringing you game previews and reactions, conversations with players and coaches, as well as our honest opinions. Hit subscribe, jump in the comments, and be a part of the conversation. Now back to the show.
Love that.
Yeah. I feel like as a fan, the Houston game last year was when I realized that we were actually one of the best teams in the country. You obviously got ejected early in that one. First off, what did you and JT do in the locker room that game? And second, how satisfying was that win?
Man, you guys are firing some good ones today. We did have we had a great game plan going into the Houston game, and felt like we had a good real grip on how we wanted to win as a team. I think that's so important. Everybody believes in it. And so when we were doing the pre-game film session, the last thing our team sees before we go get on the bus and go play them, I showed 5 clips of how Houston was going to score at the end of the game and what we needed to do to stop them to win it. And I said, we're going to have a chance to win this game. We are winning this game, and this is how we're going to do it at the end of the game, and this is how we're going to guard it when they try to go to it. And our team just like walking through it, and you never knew. And who would have thought that it would have been Emily Yalaho, the guy out there getting the stop on the possessions. But I'm telling you, everybody walked away from that with a clear understanding of this is what we needed to do to win it, and everybody knew it. And it was the best picture of being a part of the team, because you never know who it's going to be. And if you would have said that I got kicked out, which probably wasn't that big a deal, but JT getting kicked out, that's a big deal in a game like that. And us still win it. And then a guy like EY, who was a great teammate, one of the best teammates I've coached, coming in and making the stop to win the game just shows our team just the grit. But, that was a wild one. I did tell our staff when right after that film session, we're all sitting in there and we finished pregame and everybody kind of goes up, and I looked at the officials for the game, and I was like, man, I really want to fight for our team in this one. And if I got to get thrown out in this game, I will, And I kind of made it like one of those offhanded comments, and our staff's like, no, you're not doing that, blah, blah, blah. So weirdly, I don't even know. Now, that JT's play was off the hook. Y'all know this. Mm-hmm. That was a wild play.
Right.
It wasn't like this premeditated, this is my opportunity. But I was just really was dumbfounded by why he would get thrown out. And because I thought it was a basketball play, and those are hard. Those are hard officiating. And the officials actually made the right ruling based on the rule, because it was aggressive, but it wasn't intentional in any way. That's the hard part. They're not told to officiate on intent. That rule says, if it was extreme, and that was one of those kind of extreme plays. But getting tossed, the best part though was we go. Buffs tried to get me off the court, and that wasn't very easy. Buffs Austin. I'm running back. I wanted to talk to the team and see him one more time. But by the time I got to the huddle, Chance had already got them together, and I got in the middle of them to like really be like, we're still winning this game. And I realized like they already believed we were winning this game. It was such a cool. So then I go to the locker room. JT was really upset. I mean, when I got in there, he was on the phone with his mom, because I was after him. He had already gone in the locker room. He was on the phone with his mom, like literally in tears, going, "Mom, I don't know why I got thrown out." He still did not understand what happened. He did not know what the reason was. So we were it was frantic. I was talking to Kirby Hocutt. I was talking to Jonathan Boutros, who's our administrator. I was getting phone calls from the commissioner, and it was a wild thing out there.
Wow.
But eventually, I'll tell you, I watched the game on film. I was trying to, just try to prepare myself to like, how do I continue to help the team? You can't communicate with them, but just how do I help the team, as we move forward? And then JT and I actually got a moment where after halftime, where we started watching the game together, because up to that point, it was just too chaotic. Mm-hmm. And then the second half, it was so cool because JT was coaching our team. And I'd never heard him coach our team. And he was like, you got to rebound and we got to do this better. I'm like, listen to you talk about defense, man. I mean, like, about Boston coming through so much. Oh, such a cool moment. And then for us we were just jumping up and down and hugging, it's like the things that you appreciate most in life aren't what people think, it really is. It's in adverse times, who's in your corner and who do you get to be there for? And it was cool to actually be in there with someone. I've been thrown out of a game before and I was by myself the whole time. It was honestly
better company.
It was better to be with somebody. I just would probably prefer it not to be player of the year, JT Toppin.
Yeah, Coach, that was obviously one of the best moments from last year. I mean, it was so cool after the game seeing the selfie that you posted, toughest team wins. And I was like, man, this is a great picture of, not only the love for one another that was obvious even to fans at that point, but just like, man, the joy for the success of the team. And that's what you've been talking about. And that's so much of what Texas Tech basketball has been under your leadership. Kind of switching gears a little bit to this year, the 25-26 season. Obviously, everybody knows about JT Toppin, everybody knows about Christian Anderson, and so many others. Who are the players that the fans and the Red Raider Nation should be looking out for going into this year? And what are your expectations of the team that you have had so far?
Man, that's a long question. There's a lot of people. This is what I'll tell you I love about being a Red Raider right now. I mean, there's a lot of people that want to be a part of our program have seen the progression of guys like Chance McMillan go from being a good player at Grand Canyon, was a good player, actually was a kind of a semi-starter, to being an all Big 12 player. I mean, how cool is that? I mean, he had the best stats of a guard since 2008 with his 2-point field goal percentage, 3-point field goal percentage, the points he scored. He shot like 64% from two. I mean, it's crazy what that dude was doing, man, and how much better he got. His heart was so invested in what we were doing. Guys like what he did set the table for the Donovan Atwells, the Tyree Bryans, the Lawan Watts, and Luke Bomboye, who I think all four of those guys have been well documented up to this point of being transfers that all have been great players where they were for different reasons. Donovan's a 90% plus free throw shooter in his career. I mean, the dude's unbelievable. He's awesome. He can guard the ball. Tyree Bryant's got real game. I mean, he's physical. He's a big guard that can score and pass and play. Lawan Watts is such a versatile mismatch at our level. You got to have that third attack guy that I think puts people on their heels. You got to be able to get paint points. He can do it. And just Luke Bomboye's versatility at blocking shots and switchability. Like, it's just a fun group. So for me to kind of pin it on certain guys, I think we just finally have like a depth of character and players that they fit what we're trying to do moving forward. I think our freshman class, and kind of Mariel's in that group a little bit with Jalen Petty and Nolan Groves. I mean, I think all those guys are going to make an impact right away. And, Leon and Jazz played great in the Iowa scrimmage when we played the other day. I really love the depth and character of this team. I do think Jalen Petty is going to make an impact. I mean, everybody that comes into our practice from an NBA standpoint, we've had a ton of NBA scouts come in because of the talent on our roster, and they all comment on his versatility and his athleticism and how, I mean, he can kind of play off the ball, on the ball. He can really score. He's a special talent. And then, I think the leadership of Christian and JT have really helped these guys come along in a way that they don't have to shoulder so much of the load. And then a guy that we'll get a chance to see later and hadn't had a big impact on practice, Josiah Mosley. We're hoping to get him back. He's going through some things and hadn't been able to add him as much in practice, but really love the makeup and depth of this team.
Coach, you mentioned Christian Anderson and JT Toppin, and Christian got great experience playing for Germany this last summer, and you guys got to see each other over there in the under-19, a phenomenal tournament too. We were up watching it and everything, and Nick Saban always talked about not drinking the rat poison, like all good things coming in. You want to stay humble, you want to stay focused, but we got really excited seeing some Christian Anderson highlights and just the jump that he's made, and then obviously JT Toppin. I mean, can you talk about those guys' growth? Because they obviously Christian came on the scene last year, phenomenal, grew into a true freshman where he was such a big part of that team. And now expecting a jump forward. Have you seen that out of both of these guys? I mean, is there really a ceiling that they've yet to reach, just seeing them coming into 2025?
Yeah, what a unique experience. I tell this story, but I FaceTimed Christian Anderson because he was going to be a Red Raider last summer. He'd been with us a little bit, and then he was with his national team under 18. This is 2 summers ago. And I FaceTime him after they win gold. They win the Euro Cup, which is the first time they've ever done it in Germany, ever in U18. They win it, and I FaceTime him to congratulate him. And the first thing he says to me is, "We're beating y'all next summer, coach." And I was like, I'm like, "Hey, man, we're going to be on the same team for a whole year before we have to do that. Can we just hold off on all that and just take the congratulations? Let's enjoy this." I mean, that just speaks to his competitiveness, his heart. He's just a determined guy, just never's discouraged. He's got such a special gifting of scoring and passing, and he's just got a weirdly confident pace that he plays the game with. He's under control. I just love him, man. He's so much fun to be around because he's got a joy to the way he competes. And I thought that was on display in the Arkansas game. He didn't have a great first 2 rounds of the tournament. He was actually a little bit sick, and then he really made that. He played great in probably the biggest game. So I think that's what makes him different. He has gotten bigger. When he got here, he was about 5'11", 158. I mean, he's legit 6'3", 180 pounds. He looks more physical, and then you get an open floor. He's got a little burst to him. He's a great player. He's really made strides. But y'all know this, like where we've got to make strides. We had the number 1 offense in the Big 12 last year. We got to make strides offensively. So that's where I've really challenged his push going into this. But man, did he have a special summer playing for the national team. And then he got a chance to play against Luka, and really, I mean, what an awesome summer did he have. And then JT Toppin, he physically has grown also, and he's just stronger, and he plays the game stronger. Last year, I think he would get knocked off a little bit in some space. This year, he's handling the ball better. When people call us, come watch practice, like, I had no idea he could handle the ball that well. We're letting him bring the ball up in transition on rebounds, and he's just really a hard cover. He's too much physicality coming downhill so quickly. Everybody wants to talk about getting shoot. Those things I think he continues to develop. What I'm most excited about is his communication defensively, his understanding what we do, his ownership to how we want to win, which is kind of one of those intangibles that you don't necessarily get a chance to quantitatively say this is where he's improved. But his gaining weight and his athleticism has grown also. And sometimes people gain weight and their vertical is the same. He actually, his explosiveness has gone up. So I just think what people will see, if we can keep the endurance where it needs to be, he's gotten better, legit, physically stronger, more aggressive, and more skilled.
That's great to hear, man. We gain weight and our vertical goes way down. I don't know. I wish it would stay the same. It's not there anymore.
Grant, I've got 2 questions. One, maybe not as serious. You coached with Tommy Lloyd on the U19. You get into a competitive space and he draws up a play. Are you kind of making a little mental note, like, oh, okay, that is kind of the way that he does things in these timeouts? Is there anything that you glean from that? I'm sure there's nothing, but I do always think about that. You guys are competitors. How does that work coaching together?
Well, what people don't know is that Tommy Lloyd and I and Jeff Linder were all in this little office in Sterling, Colorado back in 2001 talking. And, Tommy's a restricted earnings. He's not even getting paid. My name's not even on the website as an assistant. I'm the Residence Hall director at Herbolzheimer Hall. The only person is Jeff Linder on our staff right now. He was actually on the website as an assistant coach at Emporia State. So, we've known each other. I spent 10 days in Nigeria with Tommy Lloyd back in 2003.
Wow.
When he's been a blessing and a friend of mine. It's like working it. You can know what people do, and it doesn't matter what you know, what you can do about it. And when you've got Caleb Love out there and I just watched film of him rocking us back and shooting a three in our face, you can know Caleb Love does that. But until you go out there and try to guard it, it's a different ballgame.
Yeah.
So I will tell you, there's some nuances that I know, but I've known that about Tommy since he was at Gonzaga. You know, I mean, and people can watch film of Houston and a Baylor, and you can watch it, but can you do anything about it is the question. So those nuances of being around each other, I do think we're always pulling for each other. That's what I'll tell you.
Yeah.
In competition, I've changed my perspective on it over the years. I've gone from this is the enemy to this is how we all make each other better. And I say this with the utmost respect of trying to mentally approach this, that I poured my heart into USA basketball and being the best assistant I could be for Tommy Lloyd, with no hope that I get anything out of this for Texas Tech basketball. And if I did it any other way, then it was a shortcut that I wasn't doing what I could for our country to help us win. And that's, I mean, it's in thought. Yes, there's all these components that are around it, but I would hope that our players would do the same thing, and I would be an example for them of how they approach life. And it's what I did when I was at North Texas before I came to Texas Tech, and everybody was saying, you're going to go be the head coach at Texas Tech. I did not have conversations with people at Texas Tech about our team or any of that stuff. I'm like, I love this opportunity, and I'm thankful for it, but I'm going to do everything we can to put ourselves in this position. So I wouldn't know that unless I'd screwed it up. So I'm not saying I'd messed it up at previous stops trying to figure out what was next. And the Lord was like, dude, you know what's next? What's right in front of you with the people that you love in front of you? And it doesn't have anything to do with the job or the status or the money or the wins. It has to do with the people that you get entrusted with doing life with in those moments. And how do you pour into those people with your whole heart? And not try to figure out what you can get out of it so it can improve you later on.
Man, I love that answer. I asked a tongue-in-cheek question, and you gave me a life lesson. I appreciate that, Coach. On a personal note, I think a lot of your story is really inspiring. You know, the risk that you took, and I mean, maybe you didn't see it as a risk, but all of us are married and we provide for our wives and we have families. You know, you told your wife, Cece, like, hey, we're going to Midland College and I'm going to pursue this. You know, there's no guarantee at the end of that tunnel that you're a D1 coach coaching in the Elite Eight. There's plenty of guys out there on the JUCO grind that never make that leap. Talk a little bit about, you know, your wife and how she supported you in that, and then just being a risk taker in that regard. Did you always know it was going to work out? I just want to hear a little bit more about your perspective during those times.
Yeah, great question. You know, CC played soccer at Texas Tech, but I knew her actually in high school. And we went to the same prom in the same limo twice in high school with different people. so like, you know, like what I'll tell you, and I told this story the other day, like she had a real maturity and passion and love for God at a young age. And I always admired it, you know, and I think we all in life admire people because they're beautiful, they're fun, and like, you know, you see all these things that maybe are external, and honestly, I just always in my mind was like, I respect her more than anybody because of her conviction of her faith. And that's been the backbone of our relationship and the foundation the entire step of this. And if I told you that we did this so that we could make more money or that we could get a Division I job, there's been times in my life where there's maybe been frustration tied to the opportunities that you thought maybe you could get because of your success, and you wrestle with that. But I can tell you that we learned young, and probably through the mistakes of others and being together, that, I mean, we were on food stamps when we lived in Midland, and, you know, for lots of reasons, we were able to win, and we just loved the people we were with, and it was because of her genuineness in those moments. But I watched her play soccer at Tech, and she would get in fights, but she did not know she was getting in a fight. She would just play so hard, and she was so competitive that the other girl was trying to fight her, but she was a defender, and she just was like walking away like, what are we fighting about? I mean, like, well, I was like, see, you just punched that girl. And I was like, I didn't know I punched the girl. Like, now you were competing. she's got a real like love, fierce loyalty to her that she doesn't see. She sees hope in bigger picture things that I needed help with, and that's where I'll tell you that being married and having a relationship with her was the best thing and the only chance I had of being good at what we get to do together, because I didn't put all my identity and hope in this. I came home because I wanted to be a better husband, not just a great basketball coach, and then ultimately wanted to be a better father as opposed to being famous. You know what I mean? Like our heart was connected to leaving room for God to work in a bigger way around us, as opposed to me thinking that it's about me. And because I tried that at an earlier career. So I would just tell you, I've had the number one offense ATO in the country when I was at North Texas, and I said something really stupid out of a timeout after our play worked. And I remember the game, and I said, man, I'm good at this, and this is true. We lost 7 of our last 8 games, and 3 of our best players got hurt. And I realized really quickly, if those players aren't healthy, my coaching's not that good. And the Lord has a way, I think, of giving us perspective that what we learn, and that's what marriage is, it's best. And Cece's always been just, her passion, her heart has not been tied to success like what people think. And she's an amazing competitor, and now she's a business owner of her own in the climbing.
I saw that.
And so just some really cool stuff that we're a part of now. And I will tell you that the balance that isn't what people think, of putting your priority of her relationship and my relationship with her is first before this other stuff, and then our kids, and then basketball. And people think that's crazy, but in the world of college athletics, it's difficult. But I honestly believe it's the reason why we have success, which I know is hard for people to kind of wrap their minds around, but I genuinely believe it with all my heart.
It's awesome, man.
You're obviously very competitive in the way you coach your players and the way you want to win. Talk a little bit about, being so close to the Final Four last year and then turning that page and pursuing that same goal this year. How do you let that fuel you this year, and rather than eat away at you or affect the team negatively?
Well, I'm gonna historically reference that I haven't done this well, and I've learned this over time, how the approach is. And my first year as a head coach at Midland, at 27, we lost on a tip dunk at the buzzer in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four teams. And I got to be honest, when I was first there, I was just kind of happy to be there. At 27 years old, we're at the national tournament, one of 16 teams. Now we got a chance to you just kind of get caught up in the NCAA tournament and everything's so cool. And then all of a sudden it ends like that. And I just made a commitment in my heart that we would never compete for anything other than a national championship at 27, just convicted from there. And then never being tied to the losses, though, just because I do think it gives you perspective on how you prepare yourself better for the next time. I just never looked at it as this is the end, more like this is the way, this is the path, this is the things you need to go through. And 2 years later, we won the national championship, in the first time in 25 years since Spud Webb and Mookie Blaylock. It's just like a really cool reminder. So going through this journey last year, the health is a big part of it. But what I did that night is I watched the film.
Man.
Right after it was over, just stared it in the face. And I'm not telling you I watch all of them, and I watch segments of it regularly before practice, just as a reminder of the journey of how to improve. And you never think that this is it. And I can tell you this, even if we won a national championship and I hope to do it at Texas Tech, it won't be it, never is. Yeah. It really isn't. And so if you're trying to identify with one loss or one win in any of this, then you're wrong. It's literally the people you get to do life with, and how do you keep loving people in a real way that prepares them for tougher things than losses against Florida. And But I want to stare it in the face, and I want to be honest, and I want to be truthful about what I didn't do well to help our team get better. And what did I miss? And I don't want to dwell on it. I just want to stare it in the face so that I can see where we want to go. And so it's not a morbid part. It's not like it's just like, where are we going? Like, how do we make this better? It's not if we're going to win, it's when we're going to win. It's just with a lot of hope that I stare these things in the face. And that's what I hope we do in life, is we stare these things that we do difficult things and it doesn't work out for us, with the hope of, how does this get better? Not how am I going to mess this up again? Because I've messed it up enough to know that that's the easy thing to do. And, but that's how we've approached it. And I've been clear on the things that I didn't do well. I think substitution wise, I didn't do a good enough job. And there were some things that I wish I could do differently in the game, but I'm not saying that it's not possible that this isn't going to be the hope that puts us in a position, and never know when.
Never know. Yeah, well, Coach McCasland, we thank you so much, and we can't wait to watch you Tuesday night. They're back in the USA cheering on the Red Raiders in 2025, and you're welcome anytime on the Broadway Shuffle. We seriously appreciate your time and all your effort, and just hearing more about you as a person as well. You're a great representation for this great university, and we hope you guys have a great year. And you got 4 huge fans here, man. We're watching every game, looking forward to the season, and just appreciate your time today.
Man, Texas Tech Red Raiders, we do have a great university. This is awesome. Thanks for making it better. You guys do that. Thank you. Glad to be on. Wreck 'em.
He makes the catch. He's going